Hello, I'm Rob with Jam, and I want to show you really quickly why we think Jam is great for co-working spaces. And I'm going to show you that by showing you my demo phone here and just what we have set up for co-working. I've got an example here to run through. And by the way, at the end, if you want to see how we set this up, you can see a little bit more detailed run through of how we set it up. But really quickly, we've got pins on a map here that users can click, and all of our search results from our search that we have ran. And right at the top, which we got lucky with, that we have our example workspace. So this is our example co-working space, and I can look at the details here and see that there are three spots at this co-working space that I can reserve. One is a day pass. One is the entire lounge, the entire common area, open area can be reserved. And then the other is a meeting room. So let's take a look at what that looks like to reserve those. So if we want to hit reserve here, we get to see what the details are for this meeting room. Looks like we just have the one picture right now. Spot details, and I can choose a time to reserve. So today is no longer available. I'm going to hit tomorrow, and it looks like there's already one reservation for tomorrow, but I can make another. So I could do, I could just book it for, looks like 2 hours there. And because we are logged in as the owners of this location, this is actually an internal reservation that we're making, and we can choose to show that revenue or not show that revenue. And that is going to be just a blackout period if we're just not capturing revenue, or we can have the revenue that we're managing internally captured for the statistics in Jam. So that means Jam isn't going to be charging any fees for this, no matter how many reservations we make. All right, so we're confirming that one, and that reservation will go on the books. So we have some other reservations for this site, but let's just go back and see what else we can do here. We probably should be a little quicker just to go into our profile to find our location. So when you are using the app, you probably don't want to have to search for your location every time. So right inside of your profile is the locations you've created. You can have multiple of those. And each location, of course, has Jam spots. So now we're back to looking at our spots. We've just looked at the meeting room. And why don't we take a quick look at reserving the day pass. So the day pass, in this case, you would normally expect to see a day pass that has just a full day rate, but we added an hourly rate as well so that we could just do a demo here. And what if we choose to reserve this for, let's say, Monday? Let me see, is that Sunday is not available? Let's try Monday. And what we'll do is I'll do from 8 to 10 just to, let's try this again, 8 to 10 like that. So that's 2.5 hours. And make that reservation. Now I'm going to surprise you with something by going right back in and making the exact same reservation again. Normally, you wouldn't expect that to be okay because we don't generally want schedules to overlap or collide with each other. But in this particular case, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to go right back and say I want another 8 to 10 and reserve it again. So how are we able to do that? I'll show you in just a second why that is something you might want. And remember that what we're doing is we're reserving a day pass. So we are allowing multiple reservations of the day pass. And now there's something else interesting we want to check out here, and that is at the end of the day on Monday, I see that there is a restriction. I can't reserve the end of the day on that day. So why would that be? Well, let's take a quick look at our other spot, which was the entire lounge, the open space that someone might reserve for an event, let's just say. So I'm going to take a quick look at that. Here is the open lounge. I'm going to go take a quick look at that one. And so this is the entire space, which you can rent for the day or by the hour. Normally you'd want to set a minimum here, so there we could have set a minimum. Looks like we forgot to do that. But in this case, we got to choose a day. And there's also a 24-hour notice required. So I see that's the case. And if I go to Monday, I'll see that Monday, there's our block reservation. So why is it that this block reservation time is showing up on our day pass? Well, I can show you that really quickly. Let me jump into reservations, and we'll see those on the calendar before we look at what the settings were that enabled that. If you look at this calendar on your PC or workstation by logging in through your browser, it's obviously a little bit more information, a little bit easier to see. But here's Monday, where we have multiple things showing. We could look at those and see just what our reservations are, that who's coming in, which we've made all those, so that's all the same person. Now let's take a quick look at how we got there and how we created those reservations in our profile, why that worked the way it did. So for the I'm going to hit edit on the location. I'm going to go then to our jam spots down here at the bottom, and then I'm going to edit the first jam spot, which is our day pass. And you'll see among some of the other information, two very important things. One is allow collisions. We've allowed this schedule to be reserved for the same times or the same day up to 7 times. So we're allowing up to 7 different users to reserve our day pass on the same day, which could also, if you have it for hourly, which would be less typical, but you could, it means that even during the same hour, they could overlap. But that would only be for 7 times, and after that, it will show reserved. And then the next thing that's important is the parent spot. So because our open lounge is the entire facility, any other reservations won't be able to be met because the facility is reserved. So we have given this location a parent of the entire facility, the open lounge. And so therefore, it shares the calendar with the open lounge. So if the lounge is reserved, then a day pass cannot be scheduled. But we still can do our multiple reservations in times when it isn't. So we think these types of settings and some of the other settings we have are pretty powerful for setting up your location just right and getting business going. So we hope to be sending a lot of traffic your way, and appreciate you taking the time to look at us. Thanks, and keep watching if you want to see how we set this up. Appreciate it. All right, so I'm going to try to do this very quickly, and let me start by showing you what the user will see on Jam when they are searching for a space, because this is where we want to get. So after we do a search here, we have a bunch of pins on a map, and the user can click on a pin or search through the list here and click on a result, and they will see your business as well as the jam spots that you have listed. And of course, they can click reserve to immediately reserve your space. So how do we get you there? Let me switch over to an example account that I have, and I'm going to show you just how to do that. So this is a new account, and there's no jams that are listed here previously. It's pretty basic. And the thing that we want to look at on our home screen here is to activate hosting. So you can click this or go directly to your profile. I'm just going to click activate hosting. And now, of course, creating a profile on Jam is totally free, and you or any of your employees can create accounts on Jam. You don't have to be making reservations, of course. You don't have to put in payment information to have an account. So you can have other users that you share information with, and I'll show you how to do that. So we're going to start by going to our host profile here. Now you can start a tour that will walk you through setting these steps up, but it's not too hard, so I'm just gonna go through it. We have activated hosting, and what that means is that we are accepting on-demand reservations. So we can disable hosting, and our spots will still be visible, but they will not be able to be reserved. So this is kind of a nice thing to do if you need to put everything on pause, but you don't want to lose the visibility that you're getting. You can actually disable hosting, and as you can see, it will tell you that that you're still visible. So in this particular case, we certainly want that to be on. And now what we need to do is create a location. Cool thing about Jam is that you can have multiple locations. If your co-working business has multiple locations across the city, or if you're a part of a franchise or something like that, you can actually enter all of them under one account. Alternately, you could have the managers of those locations create a what you might call master account. But either way, you can still share those locations between users with administrator access, and I'll show you how to do that. So first off, let's just create a location. All right, so it's going to take me to the page for setting up a new location, and I'm just going to turn off the tour here because we're going to walk through it. But we have turned on publish these spots. So if you do have multiple locations, but even if you have one, your location is going to be visible as long as you have spots that are active and published. So you'll show up on the map. But if you need for that location to not be on the map, you want to hide all of the spots. So that means you want to unpublish those spots, and then your location won't show up. So in this particular case, we certainly want our spots to be published. And there's one more important thing about whether your spots are published or not. There's another feature that I'll show you here in just a minute, which is private access. So if your spots are not published, they're not visible to the public, but they are still reservable. And there's a way to share unpublished spots with a group of users using a code. So if you wanted, for instance, to have a private member access type of scenario, you could actually do that, and I'll show you. All right, so let's first get this location set up. I'm going to add an image here, and let me just pick what my business looks like. So I'm putting an image that would tell users, where they're going and what it might look like. I'm just going to call this example workspaces. Maybe spell it correctly. And then I will pick a location. Let's see, we'll do 123 Main Street in Santa Monica, maybe. Let's see, is that popping up? 123 South Main. No, let's see, 123 South. Let's see. Maybe we're close to something else. I'm not sure. Nope, we're by ourselves here. So your next section you may be noticing is map pin location. You have the ability to move the pin around a little bit, and you might ask, why would you need to do that? Well, we use Google Maps, and Google is certainly going to show your business location, but what if you're in an office building with multiple other businesses? There is a chance that one of the other businesses might be hosting a Jam spot, and in that particular case, Google will put both of your pins in the exact same place, which makes it pretty hard to click on. So in this particular case, what we've done is we've devised a way for you to actually nudge your pin around a little bit until you get it into a point where it can be seen and clicked on really well, so you're not confused with the other location. All right, so moving on, we've got our phone and our website. I'm going to skip that for now. Our email is the email that's going to receive notifications about reservations. So it's not your account email. It defaults to your account email if it's not filled in, but you could change this to the email you want to have all your notices sent to, or the email of a coworker or manager who is in charge of those reservations. In any case, you're in charge of that, and it's not your profile email. It's where the notices will go. Your location description, we'll put something here. We're a great place to meet, and I'm very creative with my descriptions here. No additional rules. I'll just put no additional rules. And now on to business hours. So we're setting up business hours for our business so that people know what our normal business hours are, but these don't necessarily have to apply to each one of your spots. Your spots could have different hours. So we're going to start by just setting some up here, and I may speed this process up because it takes just a second to set them up, but I will select my times, and I'm just going to pick a range, let's say 8 to 8 p.m. at night, and set each one of these. So I may speed this up. And Saturday. Okay, I'm not sure if I sped that up, but now we're at our full week is listed. I just went 8 to 8, so to make it quickly, set it up quickly. You can have multiple times per day as well. If for whatever reason, if on Saturday you wanted to also be open from 9, let's say you close your business at 8 o'clock, but we're going to be open from 9 to 12 for special events. You can add that, and you'll see that that's an additional time that you get on that Saturday. All right, so location sharing. Here's what I was talking about with unpublished locations. So if you want to set up a location that is, by the way, it can be the same address as we've talked about, that has unpublished spots. You don't want the public to see those. You could give out private access, which would still collect for spots that you don't designate as free. You can still collect on those spots. Or you could designate spots as free, and you give this access code to the group of people who you want to have access to those. And when they use Jam and they do a search, when they look on their map, they will see your location, but only the people who you've given this code to. All right, so that's what private users are. Kind of like a private club if you want to set it up. But what really applies more to co-working spaces is probably going to be the administrator users. So you can share administrator access to this particular location that you're creating, and you can share that with other Jam account holders. So they might be able to get the reservation notices and manage descriptions or manage photos and set up Jam spots. And then you'll all be on the same page with what's happening. They'll also be able to see the statistics, things like that, make reservations for blackout dates, that kind of thing. So if you have someone else who generally manages these types of things, you might have them set up a Jam account and then share the code. All right, and then the last thing here is we actually need Jam spots in order to get reservations. So Jam spots are obviously going to typically be meeting rooms, conference rooms, that kind of thing. So I've clicked on add, and I'm adding my first one. But it can also be, like, for instance, in a co-working space, your day pass. That's going to be the best on-demand type of offering that you have. So I'm going to start by setting up a day pass for a co-working space. And you see this spot is active. So I'm just going to pick an imaged representative of a day pass co-working spot. I'm just going to call this Day Pass Jam, and some fun descriptions here. No additional rules. And so this is obviously going to be just for one person. Now here's where we get to the hours. You can control hours per spot. So if you wanted to, you could make your day pass only available during certain times. Like, for instance, let's say during the week, if I don't want this to be available until 8 p.m., maybe day pass users can only have the spot from, let's say, from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. or something like that. So you can add new hours. So I just added Monday there. So you can add new hours that apply just to this spot. I'm going to leave the rest of those, but that's the way the hours work. All right, allow collisions. That sounds kind of funny. That is scheduling collisions. And what that means is that normally Jam prevents people from scheduling a spot more than once. So the spot will show as reserved. But in some cases, such as an open space, like a day pass might get you, you want to allow multiple people to reserve the same the same jam spot because it's your open space. So we might say that we want, let's say, 7 people to be able to reserve from jam into our day pass, and that's a max. So once we have 7 reservations, it will no longer allow new users to register for the same day. So that's the way that works. That would also work if we were doing something hourly, but in this case we're going to go ahead and set up a day rate. All right, so now I'm on to parent spot, and I'm going to come back to that one. So I'm going to skip that for now. We'll set up our day rate. I'm just going to pick a number nice and round for our day rate. You can have, of course, other types of hourly or half hour. You can collect tax. That's up to you to set what that percentage would be if you need to do that. And you can also set a minimum amount. For instance, if you are wanting hourly reservations, but you want a minimum of 2 hours, just put the dollar amount that they need to reach in order to meet your minimum. Some locations may require a notice, but because Jam is an on-demand service, we really recommend that people keep their spots on demand and not do a 24-hour notice. It's just inevitable that some spots are going to need that. So we built that in, of course, but you're certainly going to get more traffic and attention by being on demand, and that's what we suggest. I'll just drop in a couple of features here for this one. You could, of course, spend a little more time on that, and maybe I'll add an additional image to show what that area looks like for people who are reserving this spot, so they have a bit of a gallery to look through. Okay, so I'm going to add that spot. Now I've done that, and this is now a spot that's ready to be reserved. I'm just going to click on the image to take a quick look at it. And this is what people will see when they go to reserve your spot. They see the description, of course, the location that they're going to be at, the hours it's available. Then normally they would be able to select hours, but we, of course, have made this a day rate reservation, which they can't change. So this is going to be a $36 reservation. In this particular case, it is asking us about capturing revenue because we are logged in as the owners. So we can actually make our own reservations and show that revenue if you want, but it won't be a charge through Jam. It'll just show up in your statistics that you're keeping in Jam. You can also not capture the revenue if you just want to black out the dates. And in either case, it's just going to ask you about that to confirm. You may want to, for instance, black out a meeting room that you have reserved internally, and you would just use this process of reserving the space yourself to show it as a blackout time. All right, so I'm actually going to go back to my profile here and create another spot. And this is how I'm going to show you what the parent spot setting is for. All right, so here's our workspaces. I can just toggle down and we can see that we have a spot there. I'm going to edit this to add a new Jam spot. Let me just minimize that and then go to Jam spots. So I'm going to add a new one. It is easy to clone your Jam spots if they have the exact same settings, so that you only have to change the things, edit the things that are going to change. So in this case, that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to hit clone. And by default, when you clone something, it's inactivated until you get the settings the way you want. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that back on. Now this is actually going to be a different spot. This is my entire co-working lounge, let's just say. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose a picture of the entire space. And I'm going to say this is... the Open Jam Lounge is what I'm going to call it. So this is, I'm just going to save some time by not editing the rest of the things here. This is a spot that is my entire location. And I want people to be able to reserve the entire lounge for, let's say, an event or a meetup or a startup presentation or something like that. This space can hold up to, let's just say, 30 people. Okay, so we got our hours in place, And now allow collisions. We actually don't want any collisions. This is the entire space, so we only want one reservation to be possible in a day for this particular space. That's the default, and that's what we should leave it at here. The parent spot still doesn't apply yet because this is the parent spot. So I'll show you how we do that in just a second. We're going to have this be a full day rate. Why don't we just add a couple of zeros to that? And that would be a nice reservation. This one does require 24-hour notice because obviously I need to know in advance that I'm going to have the whole space taken up. And we can change what additional features and images we have here. So I'm going to just do that for now. All right, so now we have a 24-hour notice space. That is our open jam, our entire lounge area. But we do have a problem. This jam spot is for a day pass in this lounge. So if someone is reserving the entire lounge, let's say Saturday night, and a day pass user is making a reservation for Saturday night, we kind of have a problem. How do we fix that? Well, what we do is we go to the other space and the day pass space, and we set the main area as the parent. So what that does is it says if this main area gets scheduled, I want those scheduling requirements to apply to this space as well. So that will prevent any reservations from being made when the parent has been reserved. So that's what parent spots do. You can actually have two spots parented to each other if you wanted to, so they share the same schedule. But it's just a really simple way to say, hey, make sure that we don't double schedule here. In this case, I might say I would leave it so that it only is parented to the larger space, because if I do get a reservation for the day pass and then subsequently get a reservation for the open lounge, I do have a conflict, but I would much rather prefer to contact the day pass user and say, hey, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to make other arrangements. So that's how it's set up. I think that's a pretty cool way to get your spots out there, and it gets you on the map so that people can see you and hopefully send some traffic your way. I am going to jump to, let's make a quick reservation. Thank you for sticking with me if you are still watching this far. This is what users will see, of course. I'm going to jump down here and reserve this spot. This is going to be an internal reservation, but I just want it to show up on the map for us. Make that reservation. So this might be something you would do if somebody pays you at your desk, but you just want to record it in Jam that you had a meeting reservation. Okay, so we made that one and it said okay, and let's go take a quick look at our reservations page. So this is why you might share your location with other users. They would be able to see the upcoming reservations. Of course, if you are viewing this on your PC, you can see a little bit more information. You can see the analytics of what's been happening. We have a brand new user with one location, so we haven't had too much happen just yet. But in this particular case, we can see that we've got an upcoming reservation. We can contact the user if we need to. We can cancel it or view that particular reservation. So this is how you would manage the jams that are coming in, and I hope that has been helpful. Thank you for sticking with me while I bumbled my way through this presentation. Let us know if there's something we can set up for you, because we're happy to do that. Thank you again, and talk soon.